That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives.
about Sixto. He's a serial entrepreneur. He already had 2 exits as entrepreneur, one of them as an investor. And in parallel, he has been a professor in several universities in multiple countries for the past 25 years. And he's a very interesting guy because he has a passion both for entrepreneurship and for teaching, which I think is the best combination possible. Welcome, Sixto.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
It's our pleasure, and like we were talking before, we love Spain. It's one of our favorite countries in the world, and first and foremost because of the people, and second because of the food, of course. Yeah, and my
Thank you.
Spanish starts with a very well-known expression, "¿Dónde está el jamón?"
It's a good way of not being hungry. So perfect. Germans used to make the same the same phrase with beer instead of hamon.
Cerveza.
Yes, exactly.
So we are going to have an interesting topic today. It's something that we at Infinite we are very invested in, and it's the topic of education. And we are very glad to have such a guest with such an experience in this area, because when this pandemic struck and this new reality settled in, a very important aspect that changed is the actual act of education. And there are 2 things. First, of course, education needs to retool. So basically, the way the education act happens has to reinvent itself, has to pivot like any business, right, Sixto
Yes.
and Matei? So we have to invent new tools of educating, and also the contents of education needs to be different and adapted to the things that would be really useful, both in the let's say lower education, high school students and that part, but also for the self-education and self-growth. And one of the questions that we have is, Sixto, where what is the status of overall education in the current context? How do you see this area? How has it been impacted?
Well, education is suffering a lot because education has a super heavy legacy, depending in a totally off line model. So the pandemic is impacting them a lot. What I know from several conversations that I had during these days with teachers and managers of different universities around the world is that they are trying to reinvent the model, but it's not that easy because for them it's not going to be super quickly to adapt to the new way of people learning. And they are suffering a lot and making special promotions to try for the next course to get students that used to pay what they used to pay. So they are suffering because it's a model that had not experienced any change in the last 150 years or more. Everything in the world has changed except the model of the education, which is a teacher and a classroom, and this has to move forward.
There was a lot of discussion on this area even before the pandemic started, about the model itself, the way we are actually not preparing the kids and not preparing the students for the reality of life. And here, Matei, I think you can enlighten us a lot, because let's say if we can explain here and there what we do when you talk about creativity and the creative area, how can you justify wanting to pursue that as a kid, especially in this country, because that's the problem.
Yeah, I think like overall, like when you go to school, especially especially when you're being sent by parents, it's all coming from this like rational side. Like you have to learn, how to be more rational, how to learn sciences in terms of like math, in terms of like biology, chemistry, et cetera, because we're all grown up with this idea that we all have to be lawyers and scientists and businessmen. And I think like creativity has started being more and more seen as a lateral thinking tool. And this is like started out pretty new, I believe. I mean, like I went to a school of creativity. I went to Miami Ad School in Hamburg, Germany, which is one of the most groundbreaking schools in terms of creativity, because it teaches you how to actually use your creativity for good. And actually it ties that back to business. What's really cool about, like, I've seen both perspectives. I was there as a student and I was also there as a teacher. I taught at Miami Ad School for a year. It was very interesting being on the other side of the barricade, having to share my knowledge to the new generation. And I noticed something that, like, creativity can play a crucial role in whatever it is you want to do. Like, it doesn't matter if you work in business, if you work in whatever, as a scientist, as a politician. We're all looking at different ways of seeing the world. And that's how I really strongly believe that creativity should be something that's being applied in schools in a new way. Because I mean, like, as Sixto said, we've been doing the same thing for the past 150 years. And now it's the time to change. And I've actually wanted to, like, also address this to Sixto and get his opinion on, like, what do you think are the jobs for the future? How do you see this whole thing evolving?
It's a question that many people is asking these days.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have many reflections on this, the jobs of the future. First, we cannot compete with machines. Why they do best than humans? Store information. Regarding memory, we have nothing to do with against them. They are super fast calculating, predicting, doing many things that right now are being developed, many job functions that are being developed by humans. And we are training our kids at the schools for competing against machines. This is stupid because you are lost if you want to compete against Google Cloud in storing information. It's super stupid. So we have to teach and we train our young people in other things. My view is that most of the new jobs are going to be related with entertainment and free time, because as the jobs as we know them are going to be developed by machines in a super high percentage. I mean, logistics with drones, the mobility with no drivers. Think in the possibilities every time that you face any job. Think the possibilities of a machine or algorithm doing the same, faster, cheaper, and with no pandemics, because they are machines. They don't care if we have coronavirus or others. So most of the new jobs are going to be related with relax, mindfulness, travel experiences, because humans, we are going to have a lot of free time. We need to reinvent the society that we have right now. But even right now, with information that we have, we are not able to see which exactly jobs are going to be the jobs of the future. But for sure, related with creativity are going to be one of them.
So basically, this means that we are going to have to prepare ourselves, and everybody else should prepare for this type of new jobs. So where do you think education will go, and self-development? What is the direction for this? How can we prepare ourselves for this future?
Well, education has to stop being a weapon of manipulation. When you are not having a good education, it's super easy to manipulate the people.
Mm.
And consider that a big portion of the education is being managed by politicians. So people well educated, they are not easily manipulated. And this is a combination that we should think about it. But the education of the future has to be personalized. Every person learns in their own path, with their own contents, preferences, motivations, goals. So the only way of personalizing the learning experience is being helped by artificial intelligence. You need, you need an algorithm interpreting how is your behavior when you are learning, which contents you share, which ones you store as favorites, which ones you like more, or how much time you focus in a content, etc. There are a lot of data and a lot of metrics that you need to manage with an algorithm. First, personalize it. Second, continuous. The current education model is not continuous. So you finish your course, you finish your career, you finish your MBA, and you are done. Fine. 20 years ago, this model was good. Today, it's not, because most of the knowledge that you receive when you do MBA or a university degree, they start speeding the day after you finish your degree. So when you finish that course or that period or study, your knowledge is not going to be relevant in 6 months, 1 year long. So you need to be reskilling yourself all the time. Is what a doctor does. Medicine is a profession that you cannot close the book and say, "Hey, I'm a doctor. I'm happy,"
Mhm.
because 6 months later you are not able to develop your profession. Continuous democratic has to be super cheap. Anyone with interest could afford to pay for learning tools. It's what Capaball is. It's
That's what I
super
wanted to ask you, to tell us a bit more about your current business and your current investment. What does Capaball do? What is
okay.
the differentiator?
Capaball is a tool of continuous learning. So we have 21 capacities. So the algorithm of artificial intelligence offers you those capacities that are that have a higher affinity with your interest, your profession, your experience, your background, your goals, etc. From that point, the tool tracks all your metrics. How many minutes you invest in learning per week, compared with your colleagues in the same company, in Infinit, for instance, and say, Alex, this week you invested 60 minutes learning, but your colleagues are Infinit, they have invested 100 minutes. So you are losing knowledge comparing with them. And also with professionals with a profile similar to you. It's like those applications that track your training when you are doing workout, and is super personalized, is continuous, is engaging because you have emails every day that offer you the super innovation of the week and many other knowledge, is super flexible. You can learn while you are at the gym, you are driving, you are having a walk in a park. Any moment is good for learning. We only ask you for 10, 15 minutes per day. Also is super actual. Is super up to date. There are no lessons from later than 2 years old. So those contents that are 3 years old, we don't choose them as contents for learning. And it mixes all kind of contents: video, infographics, posts, podcasts, any type of content that is produced by us or by third parties. And well, it's people that are using the tool, they reflect that they are super happy.
So basically, it's like using gamification also.
Yes, exactly. And social learning. Social learning is a concept that we like a lot. So the capacity of sharing and adding value to one content. Imagine that we, the three that we are here, Matei, Alex, and Sixto, are preparing a class or watching a video for the next hour. So then we have comments, we have learnings that we can interchange among us. So anyone can be a teacher of the others because you have experiences, you have knowledge, you have views that are super interesting for me.
That's super nice. Tell us more about how you integrated artificial intelligence into Capaball.
Well, the algorithm needs to be trained. The algorithm is also learning with you. You are learning about big data, blockchain, digital marketing. Those are the capacities that we have now. If anyone watching this show wants to try as a beta tester the tool, we are happy to send an invite. It's in Spanish and in English, and soon it's going to be in Portuguese as well. But the thing is that you train the algorithm. If you are a passive user and you don't say, I like this content or I dislike this content, or you store as favorite, or you don't share in your social media, or you don't watch in entire until the end that content, the algorithm starts thinking about how to personalize more the content for you. So which are your moments? For instance, it can, one of the deductions of the algorithm can be, Matei is watching, no, is listening podcast in the morning, early in the morning. Probably he's in a traffic jam, he's driving, so he cannot watch a video. And when he watches, he listens a podcast about blockchain for tourism, usually he indicates that he likes the content. But when it's blockchain for industry, he dislikes the content. So it's obvious that Matei prefers audio format, early in the morning, blockchain for tourism, for instance.
No, this is really cool. But the question is, so you are basically, just to make a little joke, you are using artificial intelligence to help people advance and keep up with it so it doesn't ever turn against us, right?
Exactly. One of our first slogans was machine learning for human learning.
Nice.
We are now moving to I am capable, I am able.
Nice.
That's
But
cool.
I wanted to ask you something very, very specific. So, could, for example, people looking for professional reconversion use your product?
Yes, that's a great question. There are many people in companies. They, well, education inside the companies is not very democratic. Usually, the top management has access to the best MBAs in the world, and the rest of the people nothing. But what we try to do is that if the only need we need from you if you want to learn is interest, a commitment. So if you have interest and commitment, Capable is perfect for you. We don't care if you are a manager or a blue collar worker or white collar worker. We don't care. You can be a developer programming Python, but with passion about analytics. Why not? You can capacitate yourself about analytics. So what we do is just to understand the learning from another perspective. And the key of this is that the unique responsible of your learning is you. So there are not other responsible, your boss, your company, your parents, your teachers. No, it's you. So you have to manage your learning.
That's actually super nice, and it fits well with the whole like democracy of learning and education, and like opening up to like people who wouldn't necessarily have access. I remember when I was working in New York, we had this client, and he was running a bank. He was like the big like marketing finance guy at one of the leading banks in New York. And I asked him one time, you know, like, it was around summertime, and a lot of these kids were graduating, and I was asking him, like, how do you hire people? Because I was also like interested in finding out, like, how does someone from a different industry such as banking go through the whole hiring process? And he told me something really interesting. He said, I never hire from Ivy League schools. This guy said, I don't hire from Harvard, I don't hire from Yale, I don't hire from Princeton. And I asked him why. He tells me, there's so much openness and so many resources in the world right now that if you choose to pay $500,000 to go to one of these schools, you did not make a good investment. And you do not deserve to have a job at my bank. Which is like really interesting, because like you really shift the perspective.
Yeah.
If you go to an Ivy League school, you don't make good financial choices. Why should you be hired at my bank?
Yes, that's very, very smart. In fact, Harvard and all those companies, when Google, the former vice president of human resources at Google said, we don't care, well, exactly the word where the academic record is useless.
Yes.
This was super shocking for all the big universities in the world, because it was like, what do you say? We have been giving MBA titles and diplomas to everyone for the last 100 years. You cannot arrive now saying that is useless. So, and I don't think that is useless. What I think is that has to change a lot. The social learning, the micro learning, the casual learning, the other teachers, other sources of knowledge, it has to be more democratic, not only super Harvard state.
Right.
Has to be more open, because the world is changing super fast and they are not. So they have a big problem. And all of them, including MIT, Harvard, etc., they have a super good reputation, of course, and trying to jump into online. They are seeing that this is changing and moving very fast.
A lot of the reasons that people chose those type of universities and also MBA programs is the networking part.
Yep.
As you well know, like to meet peers, to discuss, to form relationships, and then use them further in life. In this context, what do you think we should do about the networking part as well?
Yeah,
Because, right, I see networking and the people surrounding you as part of your education, part of your
Yes.
maintenance education, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, when I teach MBAs in the university, like 3 months ago, I was teaching in Bogota in the University Sergio Arboleda. And one of the things that I told the students was, guys, any knowledge that you are acquiring these days is irrelevant. What is more important is you, and you, and you, and you. And if you connect and you maintain the relationship during the time, you are young professional, and you are gonna have a lot of new opportunities, and the life is gonna push you up if you take good decisions. So for you, the value of maintaining that relationship is super important. And I told this because three of them said, Professor, what's your plan for dinner tonight? Because we finish the class at 10 in the night. So I said, I have no plans. Okay, let's go for the dinner, informal dinner. So I said, happy. I'm super happy to do this. But not others joined us. Only 3 people in a classroom of 25. So the following day, I told them, guys, the networking is the most important that you are going to get from this university. Don't lose those times, those opportunities of joining together out from the classroom. But say that networking is a life process. And it's a life process fed that you have to be feeding all the time with your reputation, with right now with Alex and Matei, I'm doing an act of networking. Who knows when we are gonna meet again, or if I need something from Romania or you need something from Spain. But we are connected. We are linked thanks to this show. And tomorrow you will have another show with other people, and you establish connections. If you are a true networker, you will be paying time and effort in maintaining those connections. But connections can occur sporadically here, there, LinkedIn, conversation, call, presentation, introduction, recommendation. So there are many possibilities of doing networking, but you have to be open. First, to establish the connection. Second, to maintain it alive. And right now we have super powerful tools for maintaining those connections alive. 100 years ago was through writing letters. Today are social networks. So you can watch where's the people, send them messages, introducing them, writing recommendations, references, etc. They are super powerful, but you are true. The most valuable assets that you get from a business school is your professional network.
Yeah, and how is this going to happen in the new context? Because it's pretty hard to network using Zoom. Okay, we adapt, we try to have video calls and so forth, but it's nothing like having a nice glass of vino, tapas y vino, right?
Well, yes.
How do we go?
Yeah, the personal contact is super important, and mostly for those Latin societies like Romania and Spain. We share common roots, so we have the Latin roots in our culture. But I think that we will familiarize step by step. We have been familiarizing making professional meetings, broadcasting this kind of shows, and we will digitalize a lot of activities in our days, and we will not see super strange as we see it now in a year or so. But everything has changed, and we were talking before connecting online the opportunity of multiplying your productivity thanks to those video conferencing because you don't have to move to any place. So I read the book or the biography of your partner Marco Stefanini, how he had to took many buses to cross Sao Paulo for teaching particular classes. So more than half or his day was by commuting and is wasting time and wasting money. Imagine how Marco could make much more profit if he would teach online in those days.
Yeah, it would offer a new level of scalability.
Yep.
But the conclusion here is there's always opportunity as well in times of crisis, and I would go even further and not call it crisis. I'm not trying to minimize the huge effects, both health and also economical. So it's disastrous, but I'm gonna call it paradigm shift. So every time a paradigm shifts, there's opportunity. Opportunity to do things first different because you have to do them different, and second you have to see if this different means better because sometimes it means better. So
Yep.
I had another question for you, Sixto, in regarding to Capaball because it's a very interesting business. Does it focus more on hard skills or soft skills? The idea is
Well,
make me a better engineer in math, or can you make me a better public speaker?
yes.
And what does the algorithm prefer to do?
Well,
If
we have both. We have hard skills capacities and soft skill capacities. But also, it's very important that meanwhile you use capable, you notice how the artificial intelligence algorithm is working, how humans train algorithms, and other knowledge and other soft skills that you will learn uh, during the time that you use the tool. So we teach both, and we have super good contents in both. we have capacities of crisis management and telework, or we have capacity about blockchain, fintech, travel tech, etc. So, or productivity, how you can increase your productivity using digital tools and digital helps that can make increase your productivity. So I mean, we focus in both, but we consider that soft skill importance is growing a lot.
It is. And I have another question. This is because again, it's a very interesting product, and it's a very interesting take on education and self-development. Could you also use the algorithm you developed behind Capaball? Could you to make an objective assessment of a soft skill? Because this is always very sensitive. You know, in order to start improving, you first need to realize you need improvement. And sometimes you can go to higher positions, let's say in management or leadership positions, more management, because leadership means you already discovered where you are weak in terms of soft skills, right? Let's say management positions, and all of a sudden you are in a place in which you don't realize what you don't do good. But if somebody tells you, then you're going to go in a subjective discussion. How could people use this type of algorithm to assess themselves from the soft skills perspective? You see
Well,
where I'm going with this?
yeah. It's very clear, the question, and the answer is yes, you can. And all the algorithms in the world work based on data. As much data, as much precision, better the algorithm is. So, of course, you can. In fact, there is a tool. I will type in the chat that recognizes your face compared with millions of faces and detects with are your weakness, your strengths, etc., and could recommend you which soft
Please
skills
share it in the
you have.
chat.
Yeah, I'm gonna share now in the chat because one good friend sent to me by WhatsApp. Let me find. And it's super creepy because it's like, come on. So, but it's a saying in Spain from the old mothers that say that the face is the mirror of the soul. I don't know if this is something similar in Romania, but it's
We have it here as well.
yeah. So this algorithm, or the people who invented it, is best fit me. So bestfitme.com.
Okay.
It's worrying because imagine that you are, where are you sharing your face? In make a search of your face, your picture in Google, and you will see that is in many places that you don't even knew that the is there. So bestfitme.com.
Yeah,
And
interesting stuff. Yeah, and also our viewers, I think, will find this interesting because at the end of the day, if you want to know about somebody, you just put their picture there, and you can know about the interpretation. And it doesn't even have to be 100% accurate, but it can give you some directions. Because at the end of the day, and we had a very interesting discussion with one of my good friends and partners, Madeline, who works in cybersecurity. And we had a very interesting discussion, almost 2 hours, about cybersecurity. And one of the main ideas was that we leave a huge trail of digital crumbs by doing everyday things, just by existing. And if somebody knows where to look for this digital trail that we leave, of course he can use it against us. So that is something we all need to take in consideration, because we think that transparency is a choice, but already is not a choice. It's kind of a way of life because of the technology. So
yeah, It's a very good question. It's a very is really worrying how our privacy is going to be shared or not. But I think that all of us we will have to take decisions about our privacy. Is decisions like you prefer to have health or privacy. So if you decide you choose privacy, you will not share anything about your analytics when you have a blood analytics or behavior or still a style of life or others. But if you prefer to share those data, you will benefit from the data from produced by others. So if millions of people are sharing how we our what we eat, how many steps we do by day, every day, our style of life, which medicines we take, etc., is gonna help millions of people. But of course, the decision should be yours.
Yeah, I was thinking that I also use a smartwatch, to monitor this activity, and I
Yeah,
used to make a joke that if God forbid I start making more sport, moving more, the
yes,
watch will think it was stolen from me.
yeah,
So this is again, it's a joke, but behind it, it's a very important truth. No matter how many algorithms we choose, and we try to use all this software and technology to assess people, we can never say for sure what a person will do. We can say what a person is most likely to do, but keep in mind that the source of all the progress globally, if you ask me, is the unexpected behavior of humans, is the creativity of humans, is the capability to do exactly the opposite of what a machine does, to say stop. I have zero justifications for this, but I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it differently.
yeah,
So these are things that, in my opinion, give us immense power in today's context. And sadly, in the last 100 years or so, I'm talking from the 1920s, 1930s up to now, this was seen as a weakness. If you look at all the major education systems, being out of order, being not erratic, but being hard to interpret or to predict was seen as a bad thing. You know,
yes,
it was very bad.
yes,
And now everybody's fighting to be like this. Everybody's
yeah,
fighting to be different. Everybody's kind of fighting to be able to bring value. And the only way you can bring value is to think differently from the machine. Because
yeah,
the whole idea is not to fight the machine, like you said in the beginning,
yeah,
and you were very right. The whole idea is to see the spots that the machines are leaving open for
yeah,
us as humans to go there, and instead of doing all the things like a sun right now, like being 25 degrees on everything, doing things with mediocrity, we as humanity can focus like laser in 5 or 6 major points that will advance our species. At least that's my opinion.
yeah,
And leave the goddamn machines to do the repetitive
yeah.
tasks.
Right. Or
Well,
at least be in control of them.
yeah.
It's like if
Well,
we go into this like war of like man versus machine, like who knows what's gonna happen. Probably not good for us. But if we manage to like find out ways in which we still control them and have them work for us, then that might actually be a nice trade-off in the end.
yeah. Well, being outsider it has not been easy, never ever in the history, because there's people that bet very hard for the equality, and equality is super bad for the society because
Mhm.
equality is trying to adapt, make humans like robots. And this, if we were equal, all of us, what the education tries to do is exactly that. The
Mm.
traditional education tries to equal all the people.
Right.
And if we are all equal, we will not have never ever peninsula. So what I used to say is that Wolfram Amadeus Mozart would be a plumber if he was he goes to a school right now in our days. Because imagine telling the teacher, please teacher, I want to compose music. Wolfram, please don't disturb. We are in the middle of the class. This is math class. Forget about music. Who cares? Guy, stay quiet. And imagine that situation. After 10, 15, 100 trials, Mozart will be learning so boring mathematics, and his super talent of being the best composer of the world will be totally killed.
Right.
And this is what the education does, kills the talents.
Mm.
I totally agree. It's
What do
it's
you
pretty.
think? Sorry, go ahead, Alex.
Please, bro. No, I just said it's very interesting. Please, bro.
I wanted to ask a question. It's more coming from the personal side, like because you do have a background as a teacher. I also was in that position for a year, and I wanted to ask you more like, what do you think the role of a teacher is, especially nowadays?
I was yesterday in a webinar with one of the teachers of Harvard.
Mhm.
Was super, super nice because it was a guy, a man, 60 years old,
Mhm.
super digitalized, that found that the key of the good classes is not the teacher, are the students. So, and something that we share, one opinion is that the guy who learns more in a classroom is always the teacher. But what he did was use a tool that is called perusal, perusal. I write in the chat perusal.com. So perusal, what does is that all the students put questions, opinions, comments before the class. So when he arrives to the class, all the content is there, and the elaboration of those contents has been produced by the students, not by the teacher. It's not the teacher who says, read this and read this and read that.
Mhm.
So the teacher publishes some questions, and all the students comment, share links, sources of information, sources of knowledge. But
Mhm.
what is happening is that they are the best teachers in the world. Maybe they are not teaching at any university. What they are doing is recording videos for YouTube, and they are experts. So if you want to be at the last of the growth hacking, probably there is not university at the same level that YouTube.
Right.
If you find that content, you are gonna get more knowledge and more up-to-date knowledge than if you go a business school for knowing more about growth hacking.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I think
I will remember this. Like the quality of the classroom is given by the students. I have a question here that came on WhatsApp, because we have all these questions coming from all the sources, and it's for you, Sixto, and it says, did you ever experience a Goodwill Hunting like student, like from the movie Goodwill Hunting, if you know the movie? And then he
No,
asks, can this be replicated through your AI?
well, AI is able of almost everything, uh, even creativity. There's people that says no, machines are not gonna be like humans, never ever, because they are not creative. And let me tell you one thing that I saw in a exhibition. So there is a picture from this painter from Holland. Uh, this painter that was the best in the world. I don't remember his name. Very well. Imagine Van Gogh. There is it's not Van Gogh, but it's the guy that is expert in shadows that was painting a lot of boats and well, imagine Van Gogh for telling you the case is also valid. So what the algorithm did was analyzing all the techniques and all the paintings from Van Gogh until developing its own Van Gogh. So the Van Gogh was exhibited in a Van Gogh exhibition just to try if the best experts in Van Gogh painting in the world were able to differentiate that Van Gogh, that painting was not original. So when they came to the picture, they were amazed, like how we didn't know that this Van Gogh existed. So, and it was not a copy. So because they were studying in detail all the techniques of Van Gogh, and it was produced by artificial intelligence. So printed with the same techniques that Van Gogh used for painting. Rembrandt was the painter that I was meaning. So when they arrived at that painting and say, this is truly a Rembrandt, because it uses those marks that are super personal from Rembrandt. No other painter in the world uses the same techniques, but it was not a Rembrandt. But it was not a copy or false Rembrandt. It was a new one. In that exhibition about artificial intelligence, there was also a robot with a pen drawing a girl that was seated in front of that robot. And it was exactly her face, sorry, because it was a girl, was exactly her face. And it was like, well, it's using recognition cameras, and at the same time, it's painting an original draw of the face of that girl. So machines, of course, are able to create new things, and this is creativity. Maybe the process is not the same like humans, but think that the process of the creativity in the humans is that we drink from many sources, and we have many inspirations from all the times in our during our life, and those of that inspirations, moments, phrases, musics, etc., are data. So what the artificial intelligence does is exactly the same process. It stores all the data, combines them, and produces something new. And also, it's very interesting that all the artificial intelligence have something that is very intriguing, which is the black box. There are decisions taken by the artificial intelligence that you don't find explanation. Why is this happening? Who knows? Nobody knows. It's a combination. It could be understood as their own decisions. And it's a bit worrying that machines can produce their own decisions, conclusions. And we are in the super early stage of the artificial intelligence. Imagine when they combine it by us or by themselves. Imagine when they develop deep learning or machine learning, and they can share knowledge. The power of a super intelligence is super worrying, because humans and thought we think that we are super powerful in the top of the nature pyramid. We are not that powerful, and we are not super the stars of the universe at all.
Yeah, what humanity actually fears is the lack of control.
Yeah.
That is the problem, and this is the fear level of lack of control, and this is the fear level of lack of understanding.
Yeah.
Because I lack control if I see a tornado coming to me, but I understand it. But if I see something which I don't understand, which I don't have control of, which I assume, because this is how our brains are wired, right? I assume the worst, then this is why.
Well, that control is also relative, because you think that you are super free and you have a lot of freedom until a pandemic arrives to your country and the government decides that you cannot go out from your home and declares emergency state or a state of alarm, like in Spain, that we have been for the last 3 months with the state of alarm, and someone controls your life.
And that someone isn't you.
Control. Yeah, and there are specific politicians that love to control our lives, and they are super dangerous. So if that is the case, if there is a super artificial intelligence, maybe it's better for us that a super intelligence controls our life than a extremist politician. Imagine the following situation. Hope you not, but imagine that you have to experience a surgery, and you have a surgeon human or surgeon robot. Which one would you prefer for an operation?
Yes, but Sixto, wait, because here I have some feedback. There's one school of thought who, of course, would go with the robot, right? Because it cannot make a mistake. But what does the robot do in the face of unexpected? Where is the human ingenuity? Where is the improvisation? Where is the not doing it by the book that saves your life? Because you know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, it's a very hard to answer question, because it's the same like, would you rather the plane had no pilot, only AI?
Yes.
Right.
We saw what happened with Boeing when they tried to put a more powerful system on top of the pilot, and there was an error with the sensor, and then you know what happened. Would I have rather have the person trying to fight for the life to the last minute? Yes, because the machine did exactly what it was supposed to do. It was predictable in an unpredictable format and context. That's the problem that I have. What do
Similar
you do?
with Teslas,
Yes.
with the self-driving cars.
Yes. Exactly. How many unpredictable situations you have when you are driving?
Mhm.
And it's about probability. A car without driver has less accidents than cars driven by humans. And it's and there are a lot of unpredictable situations when you are driving. People crossing, wind conditions, the car in front of you, the car in rear of you. There are a lot of unpredictable situations, but it depends on the algorithm training. It's like humans; they learn. They learn basically many other similar situations, and also they can take their own decisions faster than humans. For instance, if you are driving a high road and there is a traffic jam, most of the people, what they do is to brake, but we don't release the braking when we are stopped because we are shocked. One car driven by artificial intelligence, what does, if it sees that in the rear mirror it comes a car super fast, it releasing the brake of the car just to reduce the impact. But it's something that you're not going to do because you are not watching maybe the rear mirror,
Right.
saying seeing that there's another car approaching you super fast.
So it has access to multiple sensors first, and second, it does the math, which for us would be counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Because that's the issue when you have to think in an exponential way, and you have to process more data and use more abstract levels. Of course, we fall back on intuition, which is the contrary to what should happen. But that's a very specific case. And we have another question here regarding to the actual discussion. Can we teach AI instincts? Interesting question, Silviu.
Well, instinct. Well, first and all, I don't have all the answers because we are starting the artificial intelligence, so there is nobody that can have all the answers.
Only the AI has all the answers.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have in the time. But what I think is that instincts are genetic information. Genetic information are data, and everything that is data can feed an artificial intelligence to be more productive, more precise, more smarter, more heavy, powerful, whatever. So if you insert those data about instincts in an algorithm, I think that artificial intelligence will be able to mix them and extract their own conclusions. Yes.
Nice. Yeah.
The thing is that well, we don't exactly teach machines. We train them. It's what you do with Waymo, which is the self-driving car project from Google. Anytime that you see pictures and you have to recognize windows, traffic signals, traffic lights, corners, avenues, etc., when you lose your password in many applications and you choose those images, what you are doing, millions of people every day are doing, is training Waymo, is training those algorithms that are developing the self-driving cars.
So it's always about what you begin with, like in evolution.
Right.
Yep.
The base.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it is.
important. All of these things are important, and eventually, as you see, the AI development is organically going towards the human architecture, like the biological architecture.
Yep.
Because I think it's normal to go there.
Yeah, with a big difference. They are coming super fast.
We have, please, sorry.
No, we didn't expect that speed in terms of innovation and the evolution of the machines. They are accelerating. When they combine their power, there are systemic technologies. Big data is one of them. Nanotechnology is another, related with robotics, automation. Other is virtual reality, augmented reality is another super systemic technology. Any of them separately are systemic. Systemic means that change lots of things, that the effect is multiplier, and they affect a lot of industry, a lot of people, etc. But when they join forces, the effects multiply. So if you're thinking that Tesla has a lot of virtual view, has a lot of big data, lots of blockchain, lots of artificial intelligence. It's a combination of technologies. Can that combination can happen at any industry that we know? It's arriving fast, super fast. Don't think that you have time to be ready for the digital revolution. The changes are faster than we expected, and also the coronavirus has accelerated them.
So in a way, it is like a first evolution step.
Yep.
Yep.
In terms of technology.
Where it's going to lead, it probably will. I mean, in our lifetime, I expect that we're going to see the first AI country leader, the first AI president. taking decisions. Just because we're going to end up in this, like as we started the discussion where we talked about, like teachers and someone who, like how politics got so much involved into teaching, how like we're brainwashing students into thinking like how to lean in more of a political way, and why education should be about openness and giving you options, telling you like, okay, there's like this route and there's also this route. Like it's up to you to make your own choice. I think that's the most important thing about education. So who knows? Maybe we are going to see in this world of like corrupt politicians, we are going to see and experience the first AI president or leader. Scary to think about it, but
Yeah.
I think that the current reality is scarier.
Yeah.
Yes.
Could be.
So,
Well,
please.
there are experts that say that we have one card for not scary about these situations, is that we are the fathers, and most of the sons will not kill their fathers, and we are the fathers of the artificial intelligence. So if the super intelligence that is gonna be among us in, let's say, 30, 40 years, see humans as a good thing, we will have wonderful lives. If not, we have a big problem.
That's what we need to see. Nobody can tell. Nobody can tell from now, but I don't think we should be scared. But I think we should be cautious, and I think we should build every step of the evolution towards AI as a very stable step that we fully control. Not take too many steps at a time, because that can cost us as entire humanity, and we can see where this will go. So, Matei, do you have any more questions for our guest?
I had something at one point. I'm trying to remember it. I think I lost it along the way. How do you see teachers evolving using AI, like 5 years from now? Something like that?
Very good one.
Well,
And very good for the last question of the show, because after this we are slowly going to have to come to a finish. But Sixto, I'm going to make you promise now in front of our viewers that you are coming back to this show to continue the discussion.
thank you. Thank you very much. Well, teachers have to first jump into the digital revolution and know more about all the digital tools, how be realistic of the changes that have been producing during the last 3 months. So for them, it's a super good opportunity. They have universities open to them, but the model has changed a lot, and it's happening what has been happening in other industries. For instance, who is the key guy that gives stars to a new hotel? We don't care about stars. We care about the stars in Google Maps or TripAdvisor. So customers are the kings. Customers are the ones that matter more. So you have open universities. I mean, Udemy, Udacity, edX, Coursera, where you can record your classes and update them, or having live classes like right now here today. We the three of us are doing here, and we can charge for assisting. And you don't have only the space of a physical classroom. You can admit millions of people. What you do need, you need to be a good professor. You need to be super inspiring. You need to be a networker, establish connections. Because if someone needs further coaching or private sessions, you have to be available to do that. you can record short versions of your classes, upload them in YouTube or in Vimeo or in other channels. So the tools that you have now as a teacher are super powerful. All of them are combined with artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence is your friend for teachers. They need to know how it works and how to manage and how to use it in their own profit. But I think that there are golden times for teachers now more than ever, for sure.
Nice.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this. This was a very nice answer and a very good question, Matei, because the conclusion is teachers should not fear AI as well and see it more as an opportunity to amplify their skills rather than something which is out there to replace
Yep.
what they're doing. So, Sixto, any let's say any important conclusion that you want to relate to our viewers?
Well, education is an industry, and like the rest of the industries, is going to be deep impacted by the digital revolution. And it's a super profitable industry, I have to say.
Good to know. So we want to thank you very much for participating to our discussion and for touching so many interesting subjects and so many things around education and AI and Capaball as well, and very interesting things. And it was as we try to have all our shows be a place where we learn as well from our guests, right, Matei?
Of course, I think that's the most important thing, and one of the most beautiful things about education.
Yeah, it never stops.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much, Sixto.
Thank you, guys.
Until
Pleasure
next
meeting
time,
you.
we keep close.
Ciao.
Thank you. Bye bye.
See
Ciao.
you soon. Ciao, ciao.
Bye, bro.